Shahbandar, a small patch of land, but actually it's taken longer than even the SDF seem to have expected to win this, what they call final battle. What's happening there?
Indeed, it has, Adnan. So far, we have over 4,000 Daesh fighters that have surrendered in the past month. Tens of thousands of more of civilians are streaming out of this last vestige of the so-called Caliphate of Daesh in the village of Baghuz. The U.S.-led coalition and their partners on the ground, the YPG militia, have severely underestimated just how many people were still living in this patch of land, to include how many fighters. A lot of folks we've spoken with also believe that this may be part of Daesh's strategy to live another day and to fight on. By some of their leadership of Daesh has ordered them to surrender, to have allowed some of these families, to include families of Daesh fighters and Daesh foreign fighters, to leave. This may be a strategy by Daesh leadership to leave a die-hard remnants to fight to the death, but to allow perhaps the leadership and thousands of other fighters to live on and fight another day. That would fit into Daesh's strategy to function as a guerrilla insurgent terror group instead of an entity holding territory. At some point, of course, they held over 1/3 of the territory of Syria and Iraq combined.
And of course, it's an extremely complicated war. There are so many different elements. In Idlib province, supposed to be a de-escalation zone, more than 100 civilians have died over the past few weeks with Russian and regime bombings of that area. And again, people are looking at that thinking, is this in preparation for an all-out assault on this area where there are so many rebels? At some stage, Bashar al-Assad will surely want Idlib as well.
Well, this is the other front in the Syrian war. While almost the entire international media right now is focused on the fight of Daesh in eastern Syria, we cannot forget what's happening in northwest Syria and the province of Idlib, the last rebel-held province. It's an area where we're still seeing ongoing airstrikes, to include possibly Russian aircraft striking villages in the de-escalation zone in the southern part of Idlib. First responders in Syria have claimed that these airstrikes are launching what they call double tap attacks that are attacking first responders as they reach these villages. Some horrific footage that's coming out of that area. It seems that perhaps the Russians and their Assad regime allies may be prepping an all-out assault. Turkey is attempting to stop that from happening by coordinating patrols with the Russian military, but no one knows what will happen. It's a province that we have over 2 million civilians, so any all-out assault by the Assad regime could lead to another wave of humanitarian catastrophe in the Syrian war that continues to this very day.
Yeah, but what about your assessment of what eventually will happen in Idlib? Something will have to give. Because Bashar al-Assad, as I said, he's almost retaken the entire country back into regime control with the help of the Russians. Before the Russians became involved in the war, he was getting nowhere. What's going to happen with Idlib, do you think?
Indeed, Idlib is somewhat of the bone in the throat of Bashar al-Assad. He's made it very clear that he wants to recapture the entirety of Syria. These are areas where the Syrian people rose up against the Assad regime. Now, Russia controls the shot at this point. You have a massive Russian military air base in Latakia province, not far from Idlib. So the Russians here, at the end of the day, will be able to give the green light to the Assad regime, and that's why Ankara is continuing these discussions with Moscow, knowing that the pathway to stopping Damascus from launching these humanitarian catastrophes is to reach a deal with the Russians. So now all eyes are on Moscow on how they will, whether or not they will allow their Assad auxiliary to continue the ground operations.
Our defense analyst, Oubai Shahbandar, thanks for coming in. As always, Oubai, thanks.